Good evening and welcome to your primetime news right here on Newsfirst on TV1. I'm Deshan Gonavela and I'll be taking you through today's stories. As always, we've got the very latest from here at home and around the world. But first, let's have a look at today's headlines.
Demands unresolved. Nurses Union to go on sick leave tomorrow and the day after. Government imposes maximum retail price for rice harvest of the Yalla season. 50 rupees for Nadu, 52 rupees for Samba and 44 for wet paddy. Marine creatures' deaths occurred due to chemical reactions, not as a result of high tide. Specialist committee notifies court. Court orders for a group, including an Army Major General, to be arrested immediately over an alleged assault on wildlife officers. Fundamental rights application filed at the Supreme Court against Selandiva Investments. Teachers' unions take to the streets, seeking to resolve shortfalls in online education.
Now, in your first story this evening, the government has spent 262 billion rupees for its battle against the COVID-19 pandemic. Details on this spending came to light during a meeting chaired by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa at Temple Trees today.
The Finance Secretary, Secretaries of State Ministries and the Central Bank Governor expressed their views on the country's economy during the meeting today. According to the Prime Minister's Media Division, Finance Secretary S.R. Artigala had said that inflation rates were maintained between 4 and 6% by issued concessionary loans with low interest rates. He had said that inflation rates had been controlled despite hitting 6.1 or 6.2%. The Finance Secretary pointed out that the government has approved 11,000 development projects to be carried out using expenses of the Consolidated Fund.
A matter that is often raised is whether it is appropriate to spend for projects carried out using loans without a short-term benefit. The construction of roads and water supply related projects are ones that can reap long-term benefits. If we lay the ground for this, I believe it would draw investments and contribute towards increasing government revenue in the coming years. That growth will resolve this issue. I have observed that if we construct a road and provide water or electricity supply to a village, it would transform the area. Most of these institutions are in buildings that have been leased out. Why don't we construct a common building that can house all these institutions with separate entrances? We can plan that when constructing such facilities.
Now, nursing trade unions have said they will call in sick tomorrow and on Friday. This move comes as part of a joint trade union action launched by these groups.
The Public Service United Nurses Union, Government Nursing Officers Association and the All Ceylon Nurses Union will launch the trade union action tomorrow. The decision had been made during an online meeting that was attended by executive committee members of the unions. The demands of trade unions include: 1. The provision of a 15,000 rupee allowance agreed upon in 2015. 2. Granting of promotions. And 3. Conversion of nursing colleges into universities.
We held 11 discussions. They only said that they would meet these demands. We held a discussion with Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa on the 9th. This was attended by all officers, including the minister. They promised to issue the circulars and cabinet papers required to implement it. The decisions made during the meeting with the Prime Minister have not been implemented as of yet. The decisions made at the Health Ministry hadn't been implemented either. If we don't achieve much success after calling in sick, we will stage an indefinite island-wide strike from the 7th of July. Nurses at 1,103 hospitals, including 2 national hospitals, 26 teaching hospitals and 17 general hospitals will be involved in this trade union action. This won't apply to special hospitals and hospitals that are treating COVID-19 infected individuals. If they will provide a solution to this before midnight, then we will withdraw from the trade union action. We don't have any issue with the people.
අපිට මේ රටේ මිනිස්සුත් එක්ක කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ.
හෙද සේවාවේ හෙදහෙදියන්ගේ ආරක්ෂා.
We will have to resort to a trade union action unwillingly. This is being done for the safety of nurses, to resolve problems faced by them, and also by considering the values of the lives of the infected individuals. Please resolve these problems.
සිද්ධ වෙනවා වෘත්තීය ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයකට යන්න. කරුණාකර මෙම ගැටලු විසඳන්න.
Protests were organized across the island today as well, pointing out the plight that the farmers had to undergo due to the fertilizer crisis. This was the protest that was held in Telhawadigama in Uwaparnagama.
ඔබතුමාලා කිව්වා වක්කඩෙන් අත සෝදාගෙන ඩොමිනේෂන් අස්සම් කරා ඊට පස්සේ කුරාන් සාතකේ දාගෙන ඔබතුමාලා ඒ මුවාවෙන් මේ රටේ ගොවියෝ අමාරුවේ දැම්මා. මේ පොර දුන්නේ නැත්තම් මහරජික උපවාසයක් පොරතරෝමේ මැරුණත් වගේ කියන්න ඕනේ. මේ ගොවියා බලු දුක් වෙන්න ඉන්නේ. ගොවියන්ගේ දුක බලන්න මේවට එන්න ඕනේ. ඔය පොර දිල එකක් ගන්න නෑ. මොන ආණ්ඩුවක්ද මේ? බැරි නම් මොකද ගෙදර යන්න කියන්නේ? අපිට ඔක කරන්නද අපි තන්නේ ගත්තේ? අපි කොහමද ජීවත් වෙන්නේ අද?
Meanwhile, another protest was held today, pointing out the lack of fertilizer for 3,500 acres of paddy lands in Maoya. That is an area nourished by the Moragahakanda Kalu River Reservoir, which is the last phase of the Mahavali irrigation project. The protest was organized by the All Ceylon Agrarian Federation in Maoya. Another protest organized by the All Ceylon Agrarian Federation was held in Amilipitia today. People will not have any rice or fruits in another 3 months. People will not have tea in this country. We say it is not too late. We do not want the fertilizer concession or the fertilizer for free. Give us fertilizer for a fair price. The National Organization to Protect Our Motherland commenced a program in Kandapola to collect 10,000 signatures for a petition to point out that the food safety of the general public and the livelihoods of farmers are at a massive risk due to the ban on the importation of chemical fertilizer. This is a statement circulating that farmers in Nuwara are poisoning the people of the country. We would like to highly condemn that false statement.
The Minister of Agriculture expressed this view at a media briefing held today on the fertilizer shortage being experienced at present.
I accept that there is a shortage of about 5% in terms of fertilizer. It is not a big deal. We have a shortage of about 10,000 metric tons of fertilizer. We have taken steps to bridge this gap with organic fertilizers. This is the protest by the farmers in Sirikkaduyaya in Bakamuna. This is the amount of fertilizer released to the farmers in Bakamuna through the Govijana Secretariat. They have released 100% of the fertilizer needed. This is the protest in Aralaganvilla. These are the recommendations issued by the Govijana Secretariat in Aralaganvilla. They have released all the fertilizer to the farmers. Look at all these posters they are using. They are JVP posters. This is an amazing thing. Namal Karunaratna is appearing on behalf of the mill owners. He demands that they be provided with chemical fertilizer. He demands that rice not be imported. So who are these people appearing on behalf of? This is not a fertilizer shortage. This is a 1 billion rupee scam. The third largest transaction in the world is with regard to fertilizer. This is a 100 billion rupee industry in our country. This is done by the multinational companies that are operating in this company. Remember, even some of those television channels that speak on this matter, they are importers of chemical fertilizer and pesticides. Just have a look at the profile of some of these companies. They fear that their business will collapse.
මේ රසායනික පොහොර සහ කෘමිනාශක ආනයනය කරන ඒ සමාගම් වල ප්‍රොෆයිල් එකට ගිහලා බලන්න. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ බිස්නස් අපි කාබනික වගාවට පාරිසරික වගාවට පක්ෂයි. ඒකට විරුද්ධව නෙමෙයි අපි මේ කතා කරන්නේ. හැබැයි යකෝ එක හරියට කරපල්ලා.
We support eco-friendly cultivation. We are not against the use of organic fertilizer, but if you are doing it, do it properly. Do not create a situation where the farmers will start hating this move. Because of these sudden decisions, many farmers in Amblipitia, Hambantota and many other areas in the country have taken to the streets. Organic fertilizer will not prevent the harm caused by pests. Organic fertilizer will not prevent the harm caused by pests. Please tell us a way to prevent the harm caused by these pests to our crops. The same applies to weed. How are we to prevent the growth of weed in our fields by applying just organic fertilizer? Please tell us the way to do it. Organic cultivation is not just using compost. Therefore, please don't put the innocent lives of these farmers at risk by making short-sighted decisions. And now our crops have been damaged. The farmers are abandoning their cultivation. Get ready to pay compensation for all these damage. Today we will say this in front of all these farmers. There will be a day when tens and thousands of farmers will besiege your houses, and that day is not far away.
උඹලගේ මාලිගා වට්ටල්ලන්න දිනය ඇඩි වැඩි ඈතක නෙමෙයි කියන කාරණේ මේ ගොවිය ඉස්සරහා අද අපි ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
Chandima Virakodi, Member of Parliament representing the SLPP and former Deputy Speaker, bears the following stance on the fertilizer crisis.
If the pleas of the people aren't heard by the government, that is when the people will take to the streets. Shift into the use of organic fertilizer must be done. However, the method of introducing it has been mired in controversy. I am not a specialist, but I am a farmer myself. I personally know this cannot be implemented in this manner, at least not in a practical sense. The ministers in charge of plantations and fertilizer both are from this district. My opinion is, when they are making these decisions at their ministries, they must consider the practicality of the matter.
බාර ඇමතිවරුන් මම හිතන්නේ ඒ අයගේ වගකීම තමයි තමන්ගේ අමාත්‍යාංශ වලින් මේ තීන්දුව ගන්නකොට ප්‍රායෝගිකත්වය පිළිබඳ තේරුම් අරගෙන කටයුතු කරන එක.
මේ බාල දේශපාලන උපක්‍රමයක් වශයෙන් මේ කාබනික පොර 100% භාවිත.
It is impossible to switch to organic fertilizer completely. It is only a cheap political tactic. This is not done either for the love of organic fertilizer nor the people. If that was the case, would they sell off assets of this country, destroy and burden the land with debt? Would such politicians show such love to the people? No. The foreign currency reserve crisis is the reason for this policy. China and multinational corporations have destroyed the country. There is a good friend of the president called Nisanka Senadipati. He wanted acres of land in thousands and 10,000s. The farmers protested and it was unsuccessful. Now when faced with the shortage of fertilizer, the farmers will give up their cultivations. This is not done for the love of the country. They are destroying the tea industry. In a few years, the leading country in tea will become China. We have fallen victim to the Chinese and become a country in shambles. If we wait around till an election comes around, I cannot imagine the future of the country.
Meanwhile, the government has announced its standard purchasing price for paddy from farmers. According to the Agriculture Minister, rice of the Nadu variety will be purchased at 50 rupees, while rice of the Samba variety will be purchased at 52 rupees. The government will purchase damp paddy stocks at 44 rupees.
We will start purchasing paddy through mills owned by the Paddy Marketing Board from tomorrow. There will be no delays in the process unlike earlier. We have made arrangements to pay farmers immediately after purchasing their produce. A gazette has been issued capping the cost of Samba and Kakulu rice at 98 rupees and Nadu rice at 96 rupees. They can't be sold at higher rates in the future. The cabinet has approved 75 amendments to the Consumer Protection Act. The fine for selling an essential commodity above the stipulated maximum retail price will be increased from 2,500 rupees to 100,000 rupees once the amendments are passed to the Act. After obtaining cabinet approval for these amendments, we passed it during the second reading on Monday. We would be sending it to the Attorney General this week. We will bring forward the Consumer Protection Act with emergency provisions next month.
However, wholesale traders say they cannot sell rice at the stipulated rates based on their purchasing rates from rice mills.
We will have to return stocks instead of selling them. Some mills don't accept that. Goods can't be sold at the stipulated maximum retail prices. Samba rice is priced at 140 rupees, Nadu is priced at 115, and Kiri Samba is priced at 190 rupees. Prices of goods have risen. We can sell them at those rates only if we can purchase them at low rates from the rice mills. The government has said it will impose a fine of 100,000 rupees if rice prices are increased. our sales have dropped. We can't reduce prices if rice mills don't do that. Rice can't be sold at low rates. We are selling rice with a profit margin of about 2 or 3 rupees. The government must impose ceiling prices on rice mills.
These were the remarks expressed by retail traders.
Wholesale prices are above the maximum retail prices. Therefore, we can't purchase goods and sell them under these rates. The government is imposing this because it doesn't have the money. They are trying to earn revenue by imposing fines. Earlier, we purchased rice at 100 and 120 rupees. Today, rice costs 200 rupees. We will be forced to eat sand if this situation persists.
If Basil Rajapaksa is vested with a ministerial portfolio, will the various crises in the country be resolved? Numerous quarters in the political arena expressed views on this matter today.
Basil
Rajapaksa was criticized when he left the country, when he returned to the country as well, and when he was out of parliament and in it. I wonder what issue the opposition has with Basil Rajapaksa. You will raise these questions with my uncle himself. No. Basil Rajapaksa was a great strength to His Excellency, the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. At the same time, during President Mahinda Rajapaksa's regime, the government was known as the tricycle. Mahinda Rajapaksa was the big wheel, while Basil and Gotabaya were the two small wheels. If one wheel is removed, the tricycle would fall. There was a system that worked at the time. Only Basil Rajapaksa has to decide whether he will come to parliament or not. He has all the rights. He formed the party. He is the one who led the election campaign. He is coming to strengthen Gotabaya and Mahinda Rajapaksa and to do nothing else.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa මැතිතුමාටත් මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමාටත් හයියක් වෙන්න මිසක් වෙනත් හේතුවක් හින්දා නෙවෙයි.
මේ වෙනකොට තෙල් මිල සම්බන්ධව කතා කරනවා බැසිල් ලැබෙතුමා තෙල් මිල අඩු වේද?
ඇයි එතුමා සක්‍රිය මේ තෙල් මිල?
Is he the god of gods to do that? Who said anything like that? Some countries in the Middle East change prices every 2 or 3 months. Even though oil prices increased, we didn't immediately pass it on to the people because of the current situation. If the global market prices reduce moving forward, we can reconsider.
ඉතින් ඉදිරියේදී ලෝක වෙළඳපොලේ තෙල් මිල අඩු වුණොත් අපිට ඒ ගැන සලකලා බලන්න පුළුවන්.
පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරය වුණු ගමන්ම කිව්වේ නැවත මේ
How did they speak of the April 21st attacks? They claimed such an attack would not occur once more because national security will be ensured. They also said the perpetrators would be brought to justice. They also glorified the president, praising him for his professionalism and untainted track record. But now, 1.5 years down the line, their sentiments have changed. Now that person cannot do it. Basil Rajapaksa is the one who is capable. Our foreign reserves depleted. We are in debt over fuel purchases, and we cannot even pay off our debts through our GDP because of his actions behind the scenes. We saw the manner in which they looted money through sugar. National assets continue to be sold. This is only what has happened over 1.5 years. Thereafter, they brought thugs from Ukraine and ferried them across the island. The man behind the scenes said it was done as an experiment. The rate of transmission in Sri Lanka is about to exceed India. While all of that was happening, that man left the country. If he did all that behind the scenes, imagine what he would do in parliament when he is vested with influential ministerial portfolios.
Basil Rajapaksa was the Minister for Economic Development from 2010 to 2015. What happened to the national economy? If Basil Rajapaksa is required to save this economy and solve all its problems, this proves that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has failed. The nation saw Basil Rajapaksa's failure before the president did. Even Shashindra Rajapaksa says he has done a lot of work behind the scenes. It is the results of the work behind the scenes that we are seeing now. Imagine if this issue takes center stage.
Protests were held against the fuel price hike and the rising cost of living today. Municipal councillors of the Samagi Jana Balawege arrived on foot to the Moratu Municipal Council and then staged a demonstration. A tense situation arose when they attempted to enter the Municipal Council carrying placards. Municipal councillors of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna staged protest opposing the hike in fuel prices. Fishermen staged a protest at the Valley Patanvilla Fisheries Harbour against the fuel price hike this afternoon. The protest had been organised by the All Ceylon Fisheries Union.
Farmers have been struck by a double whammy. We are unable to catch fish. Fishermen have been affected by the fuel price hike. Cost of goods have arisen amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. We cannot continue to live like this. We are urging the government to provide relief to the farmers and fishermen.
We'll be right back after this short commercial break. Stay tuned to News First. Now, a fundamental rights application was filed at the Supreme Court today requesting an order to be issued on the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, preventing any state-owned property from being handed over to or leased to Selendiva Investments or Selendiva Leisure Investments. The petition was filed by the Secretary of the Professionals National Front, Engineer Kapila Reduka Pereira.
The petitioner states several companies that are owned by the government and which the government holds a majority stake have already been handed over or leased to Selendiva Investments or Selendiva Leisure Investments without reaching an agreement with the Cabinet of Ministers. 3 special companies are to be set up in this regard. Through these 3 companies, the Grand Oriental Hotel in Colombo, York Building, Gafoor Building, the building which houses the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, General Post Office, Seenor Restaurant located on DR Vijayawardena Mawatha, Water's Edge Mixed Development Project, the International Coordination Centre in Kankasanture, Hilton Colombo and the Grand Hyatt Mixed Development Project are to be handed over to investors. The petitioner, Kapila Renuka Pereira, pointed out that the handing over of government property in such a manner is a violation of Sri Lanka's constitution and the financial regulations of the Sri Lankan government. The petition notes such a process threatens the country's sovereignty and takes away the accountability of Parliament as well.
As a republic, not only does this not suit us, but privatizing such important assets in our country violates the first article of our constitution. Also, the petitioner has pointed out, even the state institutions have accepted that boards and corporations in the state sector will not be made efficient through privatization. Therefore, the move to privatize lands around the country which is owned by the general public and to enable investments of these shares in the share market is a violation of the constitution of Sri Lanka. If, in this case, these shares are identified to be below 50%, the auditing powers of the Attorney General will be hampered. That will hinder the court reports that will be presented in this regard as well. Especially the authority granted to the Parliament to manage finances under Article 148 of the Constitution will be lost due to this.
විශේෂයෙන්ම මූල්‍ය කළමනාකරණය ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථා 148න් හිමිවලා තියෙන පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ බලයෙන් ගිලිහී යාමේ අවදානමක් තිබෙනවා.
The petitioner requests the Chief Justice to appoint a special bench to consider the application. 19 respondents, including the Attorney General, Finance Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, Finance Secretary S.R. Artigala, Auditor General, Selendiva Investments, Registrar of Companies, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank and the Urban Development Authority were named as respondents, among others.
Now, the Ministry of Defence yesterday issued a statement on the Chinese nationals that were seen wearing uniforms similar to those of the military engaging in dredging activities on the Tissamharama River. The statement issued by the Ministry of Defence stated that these Chinese nationals do not belong to the People's Liberation Army of China.
Defence Secretary retired General Kamal Gunaratne has instructed the Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka to prevent Chinese nationals from wearing such attire while dredging the Tissamharama River. However, the Chinese embassy has informed the Secretary of Defence that the outfits in question were worn by employees of the particular foreign company. The Defence Secretary has thereafter informed the relevant local private company to take steps to prevent such situations from occurring in the future. The Ministry of Defence stated that Defence Secretary retired General Kamal Gunaratne had instructed the senior DIG in charge of the southern province to take action to prevent the situation from arising in the future. News First appreciates the steps taken to investigate and halt the use of military-style uniforms by Chinese nationals in Hambantota. by the Secretary to the Ministry of Defence, retired General Kamal Gunaratne. It is also heartening to note that the Defence Secretary has directed the police to take action to ensure this incident never reoccurs. Sri Lanka is an ancient civilization and no other nation should take for granted our resolve to protect our sovereignty.
අද කිසි බයක් සැකක් නැතුව හමුදා ඇඳුම් ඇඳගෙන හඳුන් පැනඳගෙන මහා ලොකු පිසපෙසක් වගේ අද ඒගොල්ලෝ.
Today, a group of people wearing military uniforms are digging our tanks fearlessly. There is no punishment for them while our people are carried away and dealt with for not wearing a mask. Is this justice? Is this democracy? We ask our venerable Theros to come forward and speak about this. If the government is going astray, let us come together to fix it. Do not be afraid to speak. People are suffering.
කද කෝයු පරිපන්න ගුණය වහන්තර කපා කරන්න බය නැතුව වර්ධාන අරන් පැත්තක ඉන්න එපා. ජනතාව දුක් විඳිනවා.
Now, India has stated that it has not requested Sri Lanka for its airspace to conduct a joint exercise with a third country. The Indian High Commission in Colombo had issued a statement to this effect a short while ago. The statement refuted reports that Sri Lanka had declined India's request to use the airspace for a military exercise with a third country. Now, the Kakirawa District Magistrate has ordered the arrest of some military officers, including an Army Major General. They are facing charges of obstructing duties of wildlife officers at the Mineria National Park, levelling death threats and attacking a wildlife officer.
The caretaker of the Mineria National Park, Bhatia Madugalla, and Park Ranger MWK Wasala had filed 2 complaints with the Habarana police. The police had then reported facts to court based on the complaint. The officer in charge of the Habarana police station had requested court for a later date to report on the progress of the investigations into the incident. The magistrate had then rejected the request and questioned the police on their failure to arrest the suspects despite identifying them and their vehicle. The court then criticized the failure of the police to at least record a statement from the suspects. The magistrate ordered that the police should inform court if the suspects don't turn up to record statements. The Habarana police said that Major General Mahana Ratnayaka has filed a complaint against the wildlife officers, citing that the reputation of the team of army officers had been tarnished by subjecting them to a search. The magistrate then questioned whether wildlife officers have the legal right to search individuals who enter the national park without permission. The police had then responded in the affirmative. The case that is being taken up in court is based on an incident in which a group of army officers had unlawfully entered the Mineria National Park on the 23rd of June during a raid by wildlife officers at a location in which an elephant calf had been abducted.
Now, shocking details have come to light that 176 turtles, 20 dolphins and 4 whales had died due to the Express Pearl maritime disaster. This was revealed when the Attorney General made submissions to the Colombo Magistrates Court earlier today.
A large turtle had washed up on the coast of Panadura today. The turtle had died a few days ago. Many parts in the carcass of the turtle were in a decayed state as it washed up on the shores of Panadura today. State Minister Dr. Nalaka Godahewa expressed the following remarks on the marine creatures that have died recently. Incidents of this nature may occur due to high tides. I saw environmentalists and posts on social media to this effect. Some have told it to me personally as well. Marine creatures experience some tragedies due to high tides. However, Deputy Solicitor General Madhava Thenakon told court that the marine creatures had died due to chemicals that had leaked from the vessel and not due to high tides as claimed by some. He said that a specialist committee comprising 39 members had confirmed this finding. The Deputy Solicitor General said that post-mortem reports by veterinarians have confirmed that the mixture of chemicals in the sea had resulted in the death of these marine creatures. The additional magistrate ordered for the further progress of the investigations to be reported in court on the 13th of July.
Now, in your daily COVID update, the Director General of Health Services says that 47 COVID-19 deaths were reported from the 29th of June earlier today. Meanwhile, 1,180 COVID-19 infections were identified over the course of today, bringing the total caseload in the country to 258,405. 2,481 COVID-19 recoveries were reported today, bringing the total number of recoveries in the country to 225,952.
The The protest was staged in Kurunagala today, citing several demands including necessary facilities for online education and funding allocated for education. Parents and teachers in and around Kurunagala participated in the protest, which was staged opposite the Kurunagala clock tower. The education of this country is in shambles. There are 4 ministers for education. Not a single minister has been able to come up with a proper system for education thus far. The children are on treetops and teachers use their own money for online teaching. If we are to move an online learning system, the only issue we have is connectivity. Recently, we saw many incidents where children from rural areas facing many hardships to engage in their educational activities online. Even yesterday, we saw a father of a student requesting a signal tower. As the Education Ministry, we cannot go and fix signal towers. What we can do is set up the curriculum. However, after Namal Rajapaksa took over this subject, after many discussions, they have agreed to provide internet to schools using fiber optic technology in addition to the plans of setting up signal towers. Special priority will be given to the rural schools with less connectivity, and from the 5th, we have taken measures to implement 1,000 centers island-wide. Also, we have purchased 95,000 tabs, and all these will be distributed to these 1,000 centers. Students who don't have the access to a laptop or a smartphone can use these tabs. In addition to all these, we also have a more practical program. It will be called Home-Based Activities.
Home-Based Activities.
Well, that's a wrap of your news for this evening. Don't forget that if you want to continue to be updated on the very latest, you can join us on our award-winning website www.newsfirst.lk. For the News First team here in Colombo and also our sign language interpreter Tharaka Gabriel, I've been Deshan Gonawala. Have a good night. God bless.